felt a very strong call from God that this is needed. And as a Mercy Sister, Helen, you need to do something about it. Not just to listen with the ears, with the eyes, but with the whole body, and particularly with the heart and with compassion. I trained as a social worker and I worked with the HSE for 13 years in the area of child abuse, and I was 2 years in CAMS, so I worked there with children who had emotional problems, been bullied in school, suicidal ideation. And then I moved on to Milford Hospice in 2001. And what happened then in 2007, we as a congregation, the Mercy congregation, had what we call a chapter, and a beautiful mission statement was produced. And I can remember the beginning of it. It was centered in the God of mercy. I can't remember the rest, but there was then a sentence, and the struggles of today. As I prayed my evening office, the bookmarker with this mission statement written on it would fall to the ground. Over time, it was like the Lord was speaking to me and saying to me, Helen, what are you doing about the struggles of today? Back then, I had read a report that Limerick had the highest rate of separation in Ireland. And then I approached my provincial sister Peggy Collins with the vision of setting up a children's grief centre. I felt a very strong call from God that this is needed, and as a Mercy Sister, Helen, you need to do something about it. So when I started off the Children's Grief Centre in 2009, I started in 2 small rooms. The demand for the service has grown over and over. We currently have 179 children on the waiting list. We were very fortunate that the Sisters of Mercy gifted us the building that we're in here, and fortunate that JP McManus granted us 2 million, and we had to raise the rest. There's 5 beautiful child-centred rooms with nooks and crannies. Off of the rooms then there's a gorgeous waiting room, like a lot of glass looking out onto a beautiful garden where the parents can sit, read, have a cup of tea. I do remember the first child that I worked with in the Children's Grief Centre. He was 14 and his dad had died. Over and over he used to say, Helen, thank you for listening to me. It's what they're most craving, I'll use the word, craving, is for an adult to listen. And that's why the Children's Grief Centre is as successful as it is, because the staff and volunteers are trained to listen, to really listen, and not just to listen with the ears, with the eyes, but with the whole body, and particularly with the heart and with compassion. And I have to say, it has been one of the greatest privileges in my life. I have got so much from the parents, the families, the children that I worked with. And it has been a joy, an absolute joy, because to see the children and their parents move from that real place of sadness, hopelessness, then to a place of, yes, we'll always remember our deceased. We will carry them in our hearts. They will always be parts of our family, but we can move on with our lives. Of course, there is always hope, and I have met so many adults now that I have worked with, and they talk about the Children's Grief Centre, the hope that it gave them in their dark times, and the light, that it gave them a light. And of course they had to go through their pain They had to go through that journey, but they discovered they were not alone.